What's up everyone, new update for the GO Battle League just dropped. New moves, old moves are getting nerfed and buffed, and Pokemon are getting their moves updated. Some of them really good changes, others just filler. I don't know why they even did them. Today I'm gonna show you just the stuff that's good as quickly as I can. It will probably still take a while though, as this update is big. Before we get started, I just want to ask y'all that if you like this kind of video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe, as I will be coming out with a lot more videos this season. And if I missed anything about the moveset update, please let me and others know down in the comments below. Starting with updates to already existing moves, we got a change to Spark, which will get its damage increased, but its energy generation decreased. We don't know how large that will be yet, but I would assume it's substantial enough to where Lantern with new Spark will be worse than Lantern with old Spark. So overall a nerf to Spark Lantern, which is definitely a good thing. Lantern will still be very usable though, especially with Water Gun, which in my opinion is fine. I think Water Gun Lantern is easier to deal with than Spark Lantern, so good nerf overall. Then we got Psychic, which will get a slight damage decrease. That will definitely weaken Medicham a bit, but not enough to have much effect. Medi can always run Power Punch or Dynamic Punch instead, of course. Sky Attack is getting an energy cost increase. This will instantly make meta flyers such as Noctowl and Altaria a lot less viable, and Skarmory is probably just completely dead. But bird lovers, do not fear, because Aerial Ace is getting an energy cost decrease, which will definitely allow some different flyers to shine. Depending on how big this decrease is, it could be a huge buff for Pokemon such as Mandibuzz, Tropius, and Mantine. That would no doubt become Great League staples if it goes as low as 35 energy. But even at 40 energy, it will be a good improvement. There's a ton of other Pokemon that will also be affected by this buff, most notably Gligar, Sneasler, and Alucha, but I'm not too sure whether or not these will be meta. Next up, Earthquake will be nerfed. Likely won't put an end to Galarian Stunfisk's reign, but it's a great nerf nonetheless, one I'm very happy with personally, as it should make our favorite Pancake a bit easier to deal with. This nerf also hurts Swampert, Diggersby, and Walrein a fair bit. Swampert definitely deserved to be pushed down a peg, but the others are unfortunate collateral damage. Luckily, Diggersby is getting a new ground move as a replacement, but I'll talk about that later. Speaking of ground moves, we got Dig, which will be completely reworked. It's gonna get a slight decrease in power in exchange for a decrease in energy cost. Currently, Dig costs a whopping 80 energy, which made it pretty much unusable. It's unsure how low they'll go for energy on Dig, but my guess will be 55 energy. This would make it a decent upgrade for Gligar especially, which combined with the Aerial Ace buff might make Gligar very viable. X-Scissor is getting an increase in damage in exchange for a larger energy cost. My guess is the energy will be increased from 35 to 40, which would make it a Bug-type Surf clone. This would be a nice buff for Pokemon such as Beedrill, Golisopod, Sneasler, and maybe Hawlucha. However, because of Bug being a pretty lackluster typing, I doubt it'll have much meta impact. But I hope to be proven wrong. Astonish is also getting a buff, which is very nice for a ton of Pokemon, but unless the buff is huge, I don't think it'll make these Pokemon any more usable. Besides that, we'll also see buffs for Poltergeist and Boomburst, but that'll be nothing meta changing. Next up, let's take a look at the 3 new moves that'll be added to the game. Starting with Triple Axle. Triple Axle has the same stats as Icy Wind, but instead of debuffing your opponent's attack, you are buffing your own attack. So it's a good move, but only one Pokemon that gets it will really be able to use it. Before we move on, I want to thank Go Stadium for this amazing graphic I have here. Definitely looks a lot better than what Niantic cooked up. So I'll put the link to this graphic down in the description below, which is Hitmontop. Unfortunately, it still won't outrank Medicham in the category of fighters with an ice coverage move though. Next up, we got Scorching Sand, which is a new ground type move that costs 50 energy and does 80 damage. This is slightly cheaper and less damaging than Earth Power, so it's a decent move, and on top of that is a 30% chance to drop your opponent's attack. Very few Pokemon get it, but because of the steep competition in ground types moves, I'm not sure what'll make use of it. For Excadrill, Drone is likely better because it's cheaper for the same damage. Flygon, Claydol, Hippowdon, and Palossand already have Earth Power, which is technically stronger, but these might want to consider Scorching Sand for the cheaper cost and debuff chance. But one mon that'll really want to run Scorching Sand is Diggersby, because unless Dig becomes super OP, it'll be a nice replacement for Earthquake. Kanto Ninetales with Scorching Sand is also interesting, as it gives this fire type a much needed coverage move versus rock types like Carbink and Bastiodon. Next up, Trailblaze, a grass type flame charge, so 65 damage, 50 energy, and a guaranteed attack buff. Pretty average move. Biggest user of this move will be Skuntank, which will now have win conditions versus some of its hardest counters like Swampert and Quagsire. Besides that, it's also a nice way to boost up its poison jab damage. Scizor, Ampharos, Lycanroc, Ursaluna, Berserker, and Sudowoodo will also be interesting with Trailblaze, but likely only see play in limited formats. Next up, let's take a look at moveset additions of already existing moves, starting with Water Shuriken and Razor Shell, where there really weren't any meaningful updates. Same kinda counts for Magical Leaf. It might see some play on Meganium and Roserade, but it's really just a side grade of their already existing moves and likely only see play in like limited metas. And Magna Boys will get Volt Switch as a replacement for Spark. It's definitely nice for Magna Zone, so it can still have some play in Master League Premier especially. Whether this is good or bad, I'm not sure yet. Technically, Volt Switch is better than Spark as it generates the same energy but does slightly more damage. However, there are some drawbacks with it being a 4-turn move, just a lot more clunky, so whether it's good or not kind of remains to be seen once we actually get some play with it. Then Greedent gets Mudshot, which is just going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to be even spammier than before, now only needing 8 turns to get to a Body Slam versus the previous 9, which was already insane, but now it's even better. Besides that, Mudshot gives Greedent more play against Steel types, as it is now even able to beat Bastiodon, where previously just got obliterated by it, so that's really, really nice, though. Maybe, honestly, it might just be a bit too spammy and annoying, but we will see. On the other mons, Mudshot is a welcome addition, especially on Swalot, but nothing really game-changing. Blaze Kick will be a nice addition to these mons, but really does nothing for the meta. Then finally, Breaking Swipe, which is incredible on both Steelix in Great and Ultra League, and Rhyperior in the Master League. These Pokemon already have incredible bulk and fast move pressure, and that in combination with Breaking Swipe's ability to quickly debuff opponent's attack will allow these two Pokemon to just outlast anything that doesn't resist their fast moves. It's also an amazing move on Heliolisk, who can use Breaking Swipe debuffs to make up for its lackluster defenses. In conclusion, I'm quite happy with this moveset update. They knocked some of the most overused Pokemon like Lantern, Metacham, Altaria, Noctowl, and Galarian Stunfisk down a peg, while still keeping them somewhat useful, which I think is a good thing. You don't want to completely ruin everyone's old investments, so they're still definitely usable, just not as good as they once were, and that should open up room for other Pokemon to shine, especially Flyers with the new Aerial Ace buff. Unfortunately, also, some other consequences. I think Registeel is going to be extremely good in the new meta. I mean, Stunfisk lost some damage on Earthquake, which means Stunfisk now really isn't a Registeel counter anymore. Swampert also became less strong, which means Registeel's only real threats are going to be like fighters, where the main fighter, Metacham, also got nerfed. It's a little bit scary. Maybe it's Charizard's time to shine there. Maybe it's other fire types' time to shine there. Because Lantern, of course, also got knocked down a peg a bit. But is it really enough to make fire viable? We'll have to see. There's also the problem with Carbink. Carbink is a Pokemon I wish they never released, to be honest. It's Bastiodon, which can fight back against fighters. I don't know. It's pretty bad for the metagame, honestly. And I wish they never gave it Rock Slide, to be honest. I really don't understand why they did. I really just hope I'm wrong here and that Carbink isn't going to be as good as I think, because if it is, it's going to be really bad. Still, there are definitely counters to Carbink in the meta. So overall, I think we're looking pretty good, at least better than the previous 3 months. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Be very keen to hear it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Good luck with your battles, trainers.